So who's up here speaking to you tonight? My name is James Shano. I'm the Assistant City Manager here at the City of Buckeye. Anytime that we're trying to improve things and we're trying to be more efficient, if in the end it doesn't benefit you, then it doesn't do us any good. So improve water quality. Talk a little bit about Buckeye relies primarily on groundwater, which has high amounts of nutrients in the ground and contaminants and minerals that we have to treat for. We are investing in new wells and treatment facilities to improve quality, and this is about infrastructure. So my main point earlier was about infrastructure, and that's what this is about. It's about improving that infrastructure. Technology plays a vital role in infrastructure, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to relate to a simple example of drilling a new well. Okay, I'm going to relate it to taking a bath or in a bathtub. You go and you take a bath in a bathtub, you get out, the water on the top might have suds on it, might have dirt, grime, oil, and then when you drain it out, what do you see on the bottom? You might see dirt, you might see contaminants that's left over from the bath. Really what you want to do is you want to pull the water from the center of that. And that's what we're doing trying to drill new wells. We're trying to drill wells in the right location, in the right place, and draw the water from the right area of the aquifer. We don't want to draw it from the top. If you get bad water and you treat it, maybe you have good water, but if you draw good water and treat it, maybe you have better water or the best quality of water that we can have. So we're using technology of where we're drilling the wells, how we're drilling them, and where you're screening it to try to pull the water from the correct side of the aquifer. Just one example of how we're using technology to drill better wells to improve the water quality that you're getting. The next item is enhanced customer experience. So if you improve customer service, anytime you call the city or you call for the utility department, what's the first thing you interact with? It's the customer service division. And so that's the first face of everything we do. And so we've heard we need to do better. We need to be better, and we're working to be better, and we are going to be better. And how do we do that? So we've got some things that we've already included. Compliance with federal standards to protect private information. One of the things you've done is, how many of you have your credit card maybe stolen or someone's used it, and all of a sudden now you got to go through and try to get that money back or get the bank to give you your money back? Well, we need to protect people's information. So one example is we don't take credit cards over the phone anymore. It might be inefficient to some people and say that it was much easier to do that, but we're also trying to make sure and look out for our customers to make sure that we're protecting private information, have you go to a secure system and do it. So one of the things. One of the other things we've looked at is deposit fees. Whenever someone moved in and you know you're moving or you're going to a different house and you got to pay APS deposit fee, you got to pay the city deposit fee, you got all these fees, it's expensive to move. Well, what can we do to help that? Well, one is we're looking at waiving deposit fees with a letter of credit. So in other words, if you've paid your APS bill for 12 months or 24 months and APS will say, yeah, they've been a good customer, we will take that and not take the deposit, so we can waive that. So we're trying to do improvements to our customer service to make it better for everybody. One of the things we've had is we've had 3 forms out there, one for start, one for stop, and one for transfer of service. But they ask the same amount of information. And they ask for the same information. How can we combine them into one form, make it electronic, where if people want to fill it out and they just check the box of what they're trying to do, we get the information at once. Our fees compared to the city were too high for deposits. So we're looking at lowering those fees down to something that's more reasonable, that we can still get what we need, but it makes it better on the residents. And then this one might be one that sets with a lot of people. You've probably heard about the city talking about AMI, or automatic meter reading. So we read the meters, and what we're trying to do then is take that information and provide it just like you do on your APS electric meter. You can go out there and see your usage. We're rolling that out, but what we're making sure is that we want to roll it out that it's correct. We don't want to roll something out that is not right and that you have problems with. So we're waiting to get that correct. How many people have Wi-Fi or a cell phone and it doesn't work in a certain location? It's the same thing. We need to make sure that we get that, we get it correct, and we can roll it out so then you can monitor that usage. So there's several things that we're trying to do on the customer service side. Support economic growth. Economic growth, we continue to build infrastructure, and the old saying is, you build infrastructure, they will come. I know a lot of you see what's happening on Loop 303 and the 101. You see Boeing, REI, Dix, UPS, Daimler, all those places coming out there. Those businesses can be in Buckeye and will be in Buckeye, but infrastructure is key to making that happen. Again, 2 sides of that infrastructure that we need to make happen. And you hear about Portillo's, Cheddar's, grocery stores, hotels all open up in the West Valley, and some of those in Buckeye. We want those to happen here, and we want to make them here. But we have to make that, and what that will do is improve our quality of life. If we can stay here Instead of commuting or going to East Valley, you can stay here, you can live, you can work, and you can play right here. Protect current water sources. This is a lot to do with education and conservation. Recently, the council heard about our water resources master plan. We have to do the planning on a city that we're building. We have to do the proper planning to move it into place. So we've done a water infrastructure master plan, a water resources master plan, and that master plan talked about what is in our portfolio. And one of the things is how can you conserve water if you have it for 50 homes? How can you stretch it for 75 or 80 homes? And so we're trying to do that. We're talking about partnerships with developers and how can we partner with them for the same thing, water conservation efforts. And then how can we better utilize our effluent it's another water source that we have that we can utilize. The next one is invest in future water supplies. Again, we heard the presentation about our water resources and where do you find the next bucket of water? As many of you know, Buckeye being the fastest growing city in the nation, 600 square miles, it's actually larger than the city of Phoenix as far as landmass goes. So how do you plan for that? We're having several meetings with long-term water supplies and trying to figure out where that next bucket of water is coming from because everybody's looking for it and where you're looking for that future water supply. Maintain fiscal stability. We've established some financial controls and some accountability for spending. We want to make sure that we're spending your money properly in the right place for the right items. And then one of the things we're looking at are fee reductions as far as water resources goes and our fees that come out. How can we reduce the deposit fees that come in to be more in line with other cities? And as you can see, our department goals align very closely with our council and staff initiatives. Twice a year we have a retreat with the council that defines our goals. And these same things are what the council's talked about: economic development, new employers, retail shops, restaurants, improve your water quality, provide exceptional customer service, maintain fiscal stability. Water resource needs funding to move forward with these projects on the on the replacement, maintain, and repair side of it. And the other side of it is the economic development, future growth, and that's really what impact fees pay for. So we're working on the impact fee study now, which is really more the development side, and this is on the repair, replacement, and maintain, which is the fiscal, which is the fee on the water side. And we're completing that impact fee study now to implement that plan, analyze those outcomes, and then again, make those adjustments as necessary moving forward. And again, I'm telling you, we want to do better, we are going to do better, and we want to make sure that it will benefit you, the customer. So what does the proposed fee cover? Ongoing operation and maintenance, water treatment, delivery, technology, customer service and billing, capital improvement projects. Again, there's two sides of that. This is maintenance, repair, and replacement is what the $3.05 fee is for. And I'll talk a little bit more about WIFA in just a second as well. Water Resources Capital Improvement Plan. There's 21 projects in the next 5 years and they're in the water resources side of it. Out of that, one of them is the Broadway Road Water Campus. And you can see it talks about replacement and growth. It's both sides of that equation. It's the repair and replacement side and it's the growth side. The Farallon Water Campus, the same thing. It's for replacement and for growth. And so the replacement side is paid for with the $3.05 fee, and the growth side is paid for impact fees, which we collect from development as it happens. Some of the other projects, Airport Waterline. It's a wonderful opportunity that we have out there, that eventual economic development and actual growth will happen out there with an airport that's there. We talked about future water supplies. Currently in our capital plan, we do have some money in there for future water supplies, and there's a cap water allotment called non-Indian agricultural cap water that as soon as the federal government releases it will be another future water supply. And council's talked about putting money aside for future water supplies and how we move forward. Projected CIP is over $200 million in the next 5 years, and it's to pay for these types of facilities that's out there and to continue with the economic development opportunities, both the infrastructure, how do we improve our quality of life, how do we get these things here to continue to build this great city. And one of the things we're doing is WIFA funding, $144 million in total, but the Broadway Road Water Campus is 109, and then the Farallon Water Campus is another 35, which will be in future years. Water Infrastructure Finance Authority. So one of the things that many of you might know, we had previously recommended a 3.5% rate increase, and that proposal was voted down. One of the things that we were tasked with is it didn't change the need for the revenue. Still need the revenue, but how could we go back and look at what we're doing and look at how we were doing things? So one of them was in August of 2019, so that vote was in June or July. August of 19, the state legislature changed the requirements for WIFA. It used to be 50,000 people, a city up to 50,000 people could apply for it. They then changed it to 150,000 people. So what that did is it made Buckeye one of the cities that were eligible to now use WIFA funding. And some of the things that that did for us: reduced interest rates from 4% to 2.5%. Under the revenue rate bonds, you paid an interest rate of 4% on the money that you borrowed. Under WIFA, you pay 2.5%. So if you think of $144 million and you reduce your interest rate by 1.5%, savings of about $6 million over the first 5 years and about $18 million over the life of that loan. Significant savings by being able to go this route. The other one is lower origination percentages from 1.5 to 0. How many people's bought a home and you go to the bank and they say you pay a loan origination fee of 1% or 2%? Well, when you pay that money, you pay that up front. Under the revenue bonds, it was 1.5% that we had to pay. Well, 1.5% of $144 million, it's a big chunk of money that you have to pay for that origination fee. Under WIFA, that's 0%. And that's the reason why we believe we were able to do the $3.05 rather than the 3.5% increase across the board. And I believe today was the initial board meeting of the WIFA, and they did review our application for the first $109 million, and they have approved it to recommend it moving forward to the board. So it's looking very positive for us. So current status, they're requesting the repair and replacement fee. It is $3.05 plus tax for all water customers, residential, multi-unit, commercial, landscape customers. It's all water customers, $3.05 per month. The fee ensures that sufficient revenue to continue to support the debt we'd have with the WIFA, to improve the water quality, to improve the economic development opportunities that exist in the city, and continue to improve our quality of life that we have here. And if approved, the fee would be implemented on February 7th of 2020. So a little bit about the rate and fee history. And so in 1980, Buckeye establishes the water rates. In 1987, the tiered rates were established, and the tiered rates of the amount of water you use is what you're charged, and as those tiers change, as it goes up, you pay a little additional money. In 2011, there was an environmental fee that was established, and the environmental fee was a $5 fee. So that was 1980 to 2011, so that was about 30 years. And the environmental fee was covered your annual permitting fees. It covered water quality well testing. So anytime the EPA came down with new mandates during that time frame, we had stricter requirements for arsenic treatment, for backflow prevention programs, for monitoring those backflows and ensuring that the water met all the regulatory requirements. So that's what the $5 fee was for at that time in 2011. In 2015, the purchase of the global water, and that was the last increase that was approved. And yes, the city bought the global water system. I did go through 2 other private water company acquisitions, one in Peoria and one in Surprise. And if you think about improving your quality of life, improving what you do, improving economic development opportunities, that's not always what the private water companies are looking after. In 2019, the proposed water rate increase was voted down by the council. And that's what I talked a little bit about earlier. We went back to the drawing board to look at what we could do. And in 2020, we're recommending a new repair and replacement fee. Timeline, November 5th, the notice of intent at the city council meeting to create a new fee was put in place. November 6th, the report was posted to the city clerk's website. And then tonight is the public outreach meeting that we're gonna have this presentation, then we'll go next door and be able to answer everybody's questions as we go forward. And then on January 7th is the public hearing and the vote on the fee. And then if approved, it takes effect in February of 2020.